let's go, because you know what I came here to do.
I don't get paid for overtime. I'm here to fight.
Frank Warren needs to understand that Usyk is used to earning big purses with his fights, especially with his rematch with Joshua. He's done big pay-per-view numbers with the likes of Tony Bellew and Derek Chisora. He's used to earning well, right? He took a nice pot from the World Super Series as a cruiserweight when he beat Gassiev. Fury, from nowhere, came out and wanted to take a stipulation that was already signed off, which was the rematch clause. Why does Usyk need the rematch clause? He needs the rematch clause because you squeezed him down to 70-30. And yes, he's going to make some good money from 30%. But Usyk isn't looking at that. Usyk isn't looking to fight on until he's 40. He wants to earn while his skills are still prime. He wants to earn now. He needs the rematch clause because you've broke him down to 30%. If he wins or loses, he can supplement some of the money that he's been lowballed for with the rematch clause. Of course he needs the rematch clause. If you gave him 50-50, you'd have some leverage to take the rematch clause out. If Tyson hadn't tried to extort the Saudis when Usyk already agreed to his part of the deal, then you can talk about no rematch clause. You're giving him 70-30 out of the Wembley pot, which is nowhere near as lucrative as the Saudi pot. So let me get this right. Tyson Fury screws up the Ukrainians' Saudi money, and now he doesn't want him to get a rematch clause so he can get some more money. It's just every step of it is a disaster for Fury, Warren, and that's why Aaron has stayed quiet. I know he's old and he probably can't do much right now, but that's why he stayed quiet, because he knows it's a fucking embarrassment. You know, you do one deal and then you want to renege on the deal. You know, if you didn't put a rematch clause in there in the first place, then cool. And Frank Warren's trying to tell us that he can't make any money elsewhere. He can make money. He can make money. He can make money. There's money out there. The world don't stop with Tyson Fury. Today I found out that Adam Catterall from TalkSport Radio has been told that he can't do interviews with the likes of Frank Warren. He can talk with the other hosts and people on the panels in TalkSport because they know he's going to give it to Frank raw. And Adam Catterall is a Tyson Fury fan, but he's a straight talker. Just like apparently only Umar from IFL can interview Frank Warren. You're trying to lowball all the challengers. Now the undisputed fight is in doubt because you're playing stingy buggers. You know, TalkSport has become the loudest voice discussing boxing. But yet, they're muted from challenging Frank Warren. So no one can challenge Frank Warren on what he's been doing with Tyson Fury's heavyweight fights. No one can challenge him. And Bob is supposed to be the cute, adorable old guy. You can't say nothing bad to Bob.
That's the scoop.
Whoa. This is breaking.
This is breaking, bro. This is I wasn't gonna go live. I was about to do the last segment on another episode of the Relay. I saw Steve Kim break the news that Aegis Climber said, "Yo, it's a wrap, bro. We moving on. It's a wrap." Every time that we would agree to something, they'd move the goalpost. It's already up on Twitter, so I went live. Me and Steve just talked about it. The fight has collapsed.
Yes, sir.
Oh no.
It's a wrap.
So, hold on. So Frank, after Arsenal won, he said that bigger news to come.
Bro, remember, bro, that was Sunday. Where was the big news? All I could do is relay what I was told. Steve said he called Aegis, they're moving on. He then called Bob. He said Bob sounds disappointed. In so many words, what Bob told him, it's not happening next. Not now.
Who are they going to chase after now? There's only one man they can chase after. Who's that?
Know who, bro.
We know who. We know who.
You know.
We know who. You're not talking about some mandatory where there's a stipulation that you can give him a certain amount, right? You're not talking about a voluntary, right? You're talking about a fight where you need this guy to make history, to become the first four-belt
undisputed match.
Undisputed heavyweight champion. You need him. But yet, you're taking chances in negotiation to say, bow down to me on 70-30. It's ludicrous. I tell you what, I saw Frank Warren and Krashuk I heard them on TalkSport. Frank said he's going to talk to Krashuk offline. He's not going to negotiate on air. And Krashuk said the same thing. They're not going to negotiate on air. They've got each other's numbers. There's nothing in it for Frank Warren not to make the fight. Let's get that clear. For the most part, he puts on fights. Where I've lost respect for Frank Warren, he's allowed this guy to drag his name into the mud. And look, when I say drag his name into the mud, Frank ain't no choir boy. But he's a survivor. Frank came into British boxing as a promoter in the most difficult time when the cartel was there, and he ran them out. Frank has promoted Nigel Benn, Frank Bruno, Nassim Hamed, Johnny Nelson, Calzaghe, Amir Khan, Ricky Hatton, Terry Marsh, Clinton McKenzie, and listen, I can go on and on and on. I know it inside out, bro. Inside out. And you heard the sound of a desperate man. You could see he was agitated. Anything that Jim White was saying or Simon Jordan was saying, he was just getting agitated by it because he knew, or he knows, should I say, the consequences of not making this fight. They're going to tear him apart as much as Tyson Fury. Before Krashuk came on air, Frank was saying, I'm not saying it's over. I'm not saying that we can't save it. We can save it. And then when Krashuk came on, he said he's going to talk to Krashuk offline. But it was a lost cause. Because he had to do that. Even though he knew it was a lost cause, he had to do that. He had to show the public that, yo, I've tried everything to make this fight. While Tyson Fury is doing what? Anyway, Michael Benson tweeted a short while back that after that exchange on Talk Sport, that the fight is completely dead. Frank Warren got on the boat to Krashuk. He spoke to Alex, but nothing changed. Usyk is moving on. There's nothing Krashuk could do. Krashuk said, I can't speak for Usyk. Usyk and Klimas are moving on. That's 2 aborted, undisputed fights that Tyson Fury, Frank Warren has been involved in, and Bob Arum in the last 3 years. You got to ask yourself, what, you think Joe Joyce is going to appease the public and wanted to see an undisputed fight? What if Joyce gets turned over by Zhilei Zhang? Were you going to try to sell Zhilei Zhang as a replacement for fighting Usyk for undisputed? I'm not convinced that Frank did this so Daniel Dubois could fight Usyk for the belt. I'm not convinced of that. Because, as far as I know, Tyson Fury hasn't really made Bob Arum any money. They're still in the red promoting Fury fights. So this was the opportunity to cash in. Especially the first negotiation with the Saudi. If Fury didn't cock that up by trying to extort them, they could have made some serious money. Obviously, outside of Fury being greedy with the Saudis, the other theory, which I've discussed with Ring IQ a few times on his hangout with his panel, is whatever they were going to pay for the rights fee would have meant they retained the TV rights, the Saudis, and they would have sold them to the highest bidder. They wouldn't just hand them over to Bob Arum. Even though Eddie took that deal with the Saudis, and the second fight with Usyk ended up on Sky. But Bob, he doesn't really like fighters that he has signed to him fighting on other networks. He's not keen on that. No promoter is really. No truth. No fairness. And they are in a bit of a dilemma, right? If they can't make fights like Usyk versus Fury for 4 belts lucrative, what can they really do with this guy? And you know, I've got to get over myself and not be so bothered by people calling me a fanboy. I've got to get over that. I'm working on it. Why it frustrates me is they can't see the evidence in front of them. It's like it doesn't exist. And it's just plain to see in front of me. That's why it's frustrating, because it's so easy to see. Look what Usyk and Krashuk are saying there. The huge purse difference for Fury and Joshua revealed. Not even close. Not even close. And this is what AJ and Hearn have been doing for years. See, that's the thing, yeah? When you get cash cow boxers like Muhammad Ali, Sugar Ray Leonard, Canelo, Anthony Joshua, and all the rest, right? They make their opponents rich, wealthy people while making themselves wealthy. That's what happens. This guy here, Tyson Fury, who's he made wealthy? Name a boxer he's made wealthy. Top Rank are not registering a profit with Tyson Fury. The 3 Wilder fights, the second one did some pay-per-view numbers, some good pay-per-view numbers, but the amount they laid out on the promotion and the purses paid to the fighters negated the profits. You see Frank running about yesterday because Frank knew he's going to look like Bricktop. Bricktop, the Cockney gangster boxing promoter who doesn't do things properly. And that's what he's looking like. That's why he was out there trying to salvage the fight. That's why he was getting so agitated with everything they were asking him at TalkSport. Not even close. Krashuk told Seconds Out, Usyk made 3 times as much dough from the last AJ fight than what he would make with an undisputed fight with Tyson Fury. Like Ring IQ said, go figure that. Bag of milk Luke is overstating his value. You look cheap. You don't look like a professional blue chip sporting entity. You don't look like it. You look like some guys are trying to knock off a bit of money on the side and get past the tax man and shit. Doesn't look professional. Anthony Joshua, you know, like in his own style. I know people don't like his style because he's not Jarrell Miller cursing up a storm. Big grown man with money in his pocket cursing obscenities everywhere. It's not his style. He just said he's not in a hurry to fight Tyson Fury. Look at all what Usyk has to go through to try and get a fight with him. He says he doesn't care if he doesn't get a Tyson Fury on his record no more. He's not bothered about that no more. He's not going to be running around these guys, him and Eddie, for them to say, Eddie's got egg on his face after he delivered £150 million worth of site fee, and then you run off with Wilder after telling us that the arbitration, mediation situation won't be no issue. No more of that. No more of that. They're making themselves look bad. AJ don't have to start cursing obscenities. They make themselves look bad. In fact, it's more vivid when you let people expose themselves without you cursing off cursing. He doesn't need to curse off, bruh. Curse off about what? Save his energy for training and his Jermaine Franklin fight. And he punctuated it by saying people are starting to see what goes on. Anthony Joshua, people are beginning to see what goes on.
What goes on? What goes on? Well...
And he's talking about the proposed fight he was supposed to have with Fury, challenging for the WBC belt late last year. He's talking about the 2020, where they were supposed to fight for undisputed with the mediation, arbitration situation. He's talking about the 60-40 split they offered Fury in 2019, when Fury didn't have no belts and no commercial value like AJ, and he demanded 50-50. It's all being exposed now. Look at all the shit they're going through now with this Usyk stuff. It's just crazy. I don't publicize things, so it's actually good that people are starting to see what goes on in negotiations. It's good that people can actually see this shit that people have got to put up with to make a fight. Me and Usyk got 2 successful fights done. It's just crazy. See, without cursing or mentioning Fury's name or Warren's name, the truth will come out and they'll expose themselves. You know, AJ don't want to be shouting back and forth because Fury called him some bodybuilder every second. Going back and forth with someone who's lying. Do you know how frustrating it is when you have the facts at hand in your head and you're debating someone who just lies and lies? Do you know how frustrating that is? And if you get involved in that and you can't see what you're up against, you have to get rid of that womanly energy in you and step away from it. The receipts just don't stop right now for the last few days. Sugar Hill. I never knew I was here to train Tyson in the first place. He was here with Lawrence OKOLIE for the... What's the guy he's fighting? Light. The defense against Light. He was here for that. And Team Fury, Warren and Arum seized an opportunity for propaganda by taking a camp photo with Sugar Hill, Tyson Fury and some sparring partners and training partners to say, look, we're in camp. Sugar Hill saying, I never knew I was here to train Tyson in the first place. They're trying to get over on the people. Or what the Cockneys call around this part of the world, you're trying to pull a fast one, mate. And what Frank and Bob Arum did, they basically helped sell AJ's fight next week. After not getting the undisputed fight, it collapsing a week before AJ fights Franklin. People are going to be buzzing to see AJ. And they're saying as much online. It says it here. Essentially Sports. I use them for receipts all the time. Manifesting, that's a post Anthony put up on social media, leaves boxing fans buzzing for his comeback against Jermaine Franklin. You left the void in the market. Yo, I wish him all the best. Just like I would have wished Usyk and Fury all the best if they got the fight signed and ready to go. I want to see the undisputed heavyweight title fight. You know what I mean? I'm not into seeing cowboy promoters and cowboy boxers fobbing people off with nonsense. What's the point of that? But yeah, hopefully, them slow ticket sales will pick up now. let's keep it real though. Boxing fans are fickle. They are fickle. Now they're mad at Fury and AJ's coming back. AJ's in their good graces. But nevertheless, it is what it is. You know, you take your victories where you can get them. Here's what they're saying. Max Delamoon claimed that unlike Tyson Fury, Joshua has faced the top heavyweights of the world. One thing you can't fault Joshua. He's fought the best of the heavyweight division. Can't say the same for Fury. Another one named BT wanted Joshua to face Fury after getting a few victories under his belt. I hope he works his way up and finishes Fury somehow, he wrote. Vinny San Bernaro felt that Joshua's new coach Derek James will help him a lot in his progress. He strongly believes that Derek James-AJ combo will bring fireworks. Jay Asolo, he expressed his excitement to see the British boxer return after a long time of inactivity. I'm buzzing for your return, he wrote. Alexis Watts stated that greatness is a journey and takes time. She also told Joshua to concentrate on one fight at a time. The journey to greatness is one fight at a time. Make it happen, she wrote. And they're saying here, Joshua's imminent comeback has left boxing fans excited ahead of his return to the ring. The former champion's impressive record, explosive fighting style has garnered a huge following, and his upcoming fight with Franklin promises to be nothing short of thrilling. Whether he is successful in reclaiming his titles or faces defeat, the buzz surrounding his return is a testament to his skill, dedication, and undeniable impact on the sport of boxing. I don't get what Eddie's saying here, though. He's saying that there's only 1,000 tickets left. They sold 15,000 tickets, so the slow ticket sales isn't really an issue. He's saying that's a load of bollocks. But it's a 20,000 capacity arena. So if you've only sold 15 and there's 1,000 left, where is the unaccounted 4,000 seats in that equation? But he says it would be completely sold out without no comps. I mean, he said that people have got an agenda against him. And look, I wouldn't be surprised if the tickets struggled a little. The man's lost twice on the bounce. He's got to pick momentum up. And look, like I'm saying before, I would have liked Usyk and Fury to fight. I would have my money out to pay pay-per-view. That's the fight to see. But if you're going to fumble the bag, people are going to exploit that. This is a window of opportunity. You know, they're going to try and say Usyk walked away. And so what if he did? 70-30 for an undisputed fight where he's got 3 straps. 70-30. And you want 50-50 if he wins and there's a rematch. You got to be out of your minds. You've got enough cheap fights already with Dillian and Derek. That's enough now. Frank and Fury are acting like this on road, man. And they can just handle man how they want to handle them. Usyk, Krashuk, and Clevis, they object. And so do most of us boxing fans, including me. You made it untenable for this fight to happen. The blame is on you. Simple. You know, Frank needs to get off all this, oh, if he doesn't take this fight, he can't get money nowhere else. If he regroups with Eddie, they'll get money. Don't worry about Usyk, he'll get money. Usyk's done good pay-per-view numbers in Britain at least 4 times, right? All 4 with you know who, Eddie Hearn. Beat is a fanboy. 1 + 1 = 2, 2 + 2 = 4. It's devoid of fanaticism. It's the receipt. It's a fact. Frank looks pathetic right now. Tyson Fury with the name calling and obscenity, he looks pathetic right now. Bob Arum is rightly staying quiet. I see Frank recruited the old guard, old wrinkled up Colin Hart from the Sun newspaper, who Nassim Hamed had a big row with back in the day. Colin said, oh, you got to blame Usyk, he walked away. But come on, just a couple of months back he said AJ walked away. We know where his alliances are. Him and Frank go way back. Apparently Umar IFL was asking Frank some extra soft questions that he probably had Umar pre-rehearsed before the interview started. Trying to manipulate the media, Frank. Come on, man. Like, the jig is up.
Letting you silly F's know the jig is up. What?
Lawrence Okolie.
Me and him have chats because we have an ongoing situation behind the scenes that maybe I'm not allowed to talk too much on. But, you know, obviously since the... and, you know, he says it so casually there, like, oh, you have an option to meet it. I didn't. But, you know, the way he acts personally is very different. He's very malicious, very bitter, jealous as well. And for someone who's been brought up, you know, so in such a great position and has done so much in terms of his own life, the way he sort of acts on a personal level, very vindictive, it's quite shocking, to be honest.
It's like Talk Sport bought Lawrence Okolie on not really to talk about David Light, who is fighting on Saturday. He spent the most of this interview when he's got a world title defense talking about Eddie Hearn. Now, yes, Eddie did take a little shot at Lawrence Okolie.
Lawrence Okolie, another situation, gets an offer, is out of contract or his contract's approaching, and all of a sudden you have an option to pay a certain amount of money or let the fighter go. You have to make a commercial decision based on the ability of that player or the fighter, the draw, the numbers, everything around it.
It was a very underhanded slight on Lawrence Okolie. He let us know that he forfeited the matching right without telling us he forfeited the matching right. Lawrence Okolie, though, I guess because of the legal ramifications, because he's still in a situation with Eddie over the length of his contract if he does have another fight at Matchroom, he was unwilling to say if Eddie exercised the matching right or not. But from what Eddie's saying, no, I let Lawrence Okolie go. He didn't leave, I let him go because he's not worth what he wanted me to pay. But, okay, maybe a little unnecessary for them to bring all this up when he's got a world title fight on Saturday. Maybe a little unnecessary. But Eddie did call his name, and it's fair game if they ask him about a situation where his name is involved. But this question here coming up.
Let me ask you, I'm so curious about this. You would know more than I would, but one of the things Simon Jordan was pushing him on was whether or not if a boxer brings the game into disrepute, the promoter has the right to sack off the event and stop the fight. And Eddie was suggesting that that's to do with the governing body and not whether or not he has control over the boxer, irrelevant to what he does, because it's not in the contract. To the best of your knowledge, was that a clause in a contract that you had with Matchroom when you were in that stable?
I'm not allowed to talk on certain situations, do you know what I mean? Because obviously ongoing legal stuff between myself and Matchroom as we speak, so I need to be careful how I answer certain questions like that. But, you know, I feel like it's very easy to pick and choose.
They're asking Lawrence Okolie about contractual situations based on the Conor Benn situation. You brought him on live radio to ask him that? He's got a world title defense in a couple of days. If you're going to ask, what about a Richard Riakporhe fight or Gulamarian? Even though he's focused on David Light, them names are names that he would be thinking about because they're in the same weight class and they're on the same network. They're connected to his career as a cruiserweight. Bringing up a welterweight who's just had PD controversy, bringing his situation up is nuts. 2 days away from a big fight. They're asking him personal details, contractual details about whatever him and Eddie had going on. They went a little too far. What do you think? But I found out on my hangout today from Tim that TalkSport is owned by Sky, Rupert Murdoch. You see, no matter how they slice it and dice it, no one's talking about this fight. Here's the thing, right? Joshua BUATSI said nobody saw his fight against Craig Richards because the DAZN app is crap. He basically rubbished it. But, okay, this fight here, Okolie's next defense against David Light, they're going to show it on ProBox in America. ProBox, that's a new app that's in the game, and it might turn out to be a great thing. You never know. But right now, it's not bigger than DAZN. It's not bigger than ESPN. It's not bigger than Showtime. And what's the deal with that, right? Sky show a lot of Top Rank cards, but there's nothing being reciprocated where Top Rank are showing their cards. Why isn't this on Top Rank? It's a bit of a one-sided deal. Sky are more than happy to show Bob Arum's cards, but Bob couldn't give a fuck about Sky's roster. Let's keep it real. You know, Ben Shalom has spent a lot of money taking fighters from Matchroom to Boxer, but yet he can't even get them on a credible network in America where they put on shows. To Joshua BUATSI though, right? It's views you're looking at on your fight is what matters to him. When he fights in Birmingham in a few weeks, who's going to see his fight in America on ProBox? You get way more exposure in America on the DAZN app than ProBox. They better be very careful that they don't get used as pawns in a game where they stand to lose way more than Sky. These big corporates, they survive controversies and dramas and major shake-ups. But boxers and the workers below the executive level are very susceptible to end up as collateral damage in a conflict they didn't really understand. Let's not forget, the PBC fighters were so loyal to Showtime and Al Heyman. And now, you know, Wilder start talking about getting his money paid on time. He doesn't want to wait 2-3 months for it. He wants it now. Broner saying something similar. The fight dates have just dried up to a standstill over there, literally. Inactive fighters. Gary Russell was talking about how certain fighters like Leo Santa Cruz and others were being protected and he couldn't get the fights he was asking for. I hope they don't get caught up in no crap, right? If Ben Shalom wants to rubbish the zone, or anyone at Sky or Boxer wants to do that, let them do that. I personally wouldn't be getting caught up in no corporate battle and they haven't offered me no equity into Boxer or Sky.
Like I said, Lawrence Okoli is back on our screens. We haven't seen him fight in, well, about a year. So what are you expecting? You're expecting a little bit of ring rust? What are you hoping to see on Saturday?
Yeah, a bit of rust possibly. Hopefully he doesn't try too hard to make a statement and then ends up loading up, forcing it, and you know, not boxing that well. It's which you could easily see happening. I think he just has to try and put everything, all the outside issues behind him, just focus on the job at hand, and just...
You know, there's been a lot of talk about David Light, Lawrence Okoli's opponent, that he wasn't very impressive on the bag and people were laughing. It's supposed to be a routine win. But, you know, it's okay for Eddie to go back and forth and have verbal sparring sessions with Simon Jordan, Okolie, BUATSI. He can do that. That's his job. His job is to be a mouthpiece. Okolie, ultimately, his success doesn't evolve around what he has to say about anybody. He's got to defend that WBO belt. And they say David Light is not a formidable challenger. Boxing isn't all about your challenger. Boxing is all about your mind. Is your mind right? About the other circumstances that are going on in your life. They might be even harder to negate than your opponent. If Eddie's living rent-free in this guy's head, anything can happen. Anything can happen. But he's with Sugar Hill, no longer with Shane. They're talking about knocking this guy out. That's why people hire Sugar Hill for the knockouts. Ben Whittaker had a reputation as being a out-and-out boxer as an amateur, and he went to Sugar Hill because he wants the knockouts. This ain't about Eddie Hearn. You've got to focus on the task at hand. David Light is coming for them belts. Regardless what they're saying about him, he wants them belts. He's got nothing to lose. People are laughing at him. And if Okolie can't get up for him, anything can happen. You see, what you have to remember, just because David Light is very much an unknown quantity to many, he's an actual human being. He has ambitions and goals. You don't think he's watching Lawrence responding to Eddie? And his coach are watching all this stuff? Thinking, yo, we might be catching this guy at the right time. All you got to do is implement what we trained for correctly. From a psychological, from a tactical and a physical standpoint, and the belt could be yours. What do you think Bone Crusher Smith did to Tim Witherspoon? He said, I knew he wasn't in the right headspace because Tim was going through a lot of issues with Don King. Bone Crusher said, I took advantage of it. I knew he wasn't in the right headspace. Bone Crusher come out fast, landed his punches, 3 knockdown rule, and Tim's WBA belt was gone. I don't like the amount of time that Lawrence has spent responding to Eddie Hearn. And I can't really blame the media. The media, they do whatever they can for clicks and what they think is going to make the videos get viewed. But you go look. If you think I'm making something up and, you people... Look, everything has to be receipt-based on this channel. I made that decision a long time ago. If it's not receipt-based, I will tell you this is my opinion. It's not receipt-based, it's my opinion. Right? But this is receipt-based. You go on YouTube and check for the last 2 and 3 days all the Lawrence Okoli videos. How much have Eddie Hearn's name in the title compared to how much have David Light in the title? If you go in there fighting David Light and Eddie Hearn on Saturday, let's put it this way. Lawrence has ability and a lot of physical gifts. He might be able to get away with it, but it could impair his performance where there's a lot to talk about post-fight. The worst scenario, if he ends up fighting David Light and Eddie Hearn, belts are gone. Be very mindful of this. Let's get off Eddie Hearn now. We got a weigh-in tomorrow and a fight. I want Lawrence Okoli to win. And Ben Shalom is green. He has a few interviews in the last few days talking about, oh, Eddie Hearn said this about Okoli. What he should have done is say, yo, fellas, let's wrap up Eddie right now. Right? Eddie's got his own show to do next week. We have our show. This is about Okoli. But he didn't do that. Sometimes I feel Ben is a little out of his element. He's a little green. Caddy Sowlin today, he refused to write off EUBANK versus BENN. He refused to write it off. Look, the Liam Smith fight is dangerous. It's dangerous, right? is a dangerous rematch. Ben, the smaller man, this time there will be no catch weight. It will be at 160. That might be a more interesting proposition for KALLE. You don't want to get Eubank knocked out again so quickly.
That's most relevant about yourself is the Chris Eubank Jr. rematch. What is the latest? We know that Chris Eubank Jr. publicly accepted the rematch clause. He activated it. But where do we stand now?
Not sure, mate. He activated it, but didn't fully accept it. He activated it, but still started to make the Conor Ben fight. So I'm not 100% sure, but we'll get some answers in the next few days. And if we're in, we're in. If we're out, we're out. So
Tank Davis is saying Mayweather barred him from using the gym ahead of Ryan Garcia fight. Now I'm just going to go through a few points. He fights Ryan on April the 22nd on pay-per-view. Barely a week after Davis informed BoxingScene.com that he would be staging his training camp at the Mayweather Boxing Club, owned by Hall of Famer Floyd Mayweather, who used to promote Tank on TMT. He's informed us now he will no longer be training for the Garcia fight at the Mayweather Club. And apparently Mayweather has barred him from the gym. And Tank is getting bent out of shape. What? That's Floyd's petty ass said I couldn't use his gym anymore. I don't give a fuck, Davis wrote in a now deleted tweet. See, modern men, how many times has he deleted tweets and then deleted them? So Davis parted ways with Mayweather last May after he knocked out Rolando Romero. He believed that it was a setup because Romero is signed by TMT and they wanted him to knock out Tank before Tank left. Both Tank and Floyd insisted that they left on amicable terms. But what does amicable mean? Do you understand what amicable means, Tank? I split up with my wife and it's amicable. But she's moved on and has a new boyfriend or husband. That means we split up and it's amicable, but I can't go and rest up in her bed no more. Or at least I shouldn't be. Right, look. It says in the article here on Boxing Scene, most of Davis's issues with Mayweather have stemmed from Tank feeling that Mayweather tries to steal his thunder. Well, if that's the case, why are you trying to go back in his gym? If he's stealing your thunder, wouldn't you separate yourself from him and his gym so you could retain your thunder? Calvin Ford, Tank's trainer, he also approved the decision to train out of Mayweather's gym. We like Mayweather's gym. Tank has said he feels back at home. The feeling of being in Vegas in that gym is calming for him. Well, look, if you need to be in that gym that bad, you know what you do? You don't leave TMT. You don't leave TMT. But if you leave TMT, these are the consequences. And, you know, a lot of people are saying, Floyd's just bitter. Floyd is just bitter. You people are so Floyd not wanting him in the gym doesn't mean he's bitter. Floyd is saying, well, if you've left TMT, leave TMT. Go do your own thing. And he's right. I don't know if Floyd's got any more fighters on his roster, but the gym is reserved for them. It's not reserved for people who have left the gym to keep coming back there. And I think they have a public membership where people can just use the gym. But you are no longer a TMT fighter. You made that decision. Floyd didn't throw you out of TMT. You made that decision. Where did he train for the Hector Garcia fight? Where did he train? It goes to show you he's not very confident about this Ryan Garcia fight. He's trying to go back to what was comfortable for him. He's not very confident. It looks like Tank's realizing a lot of his success was down to the Mayweather Association. And that includes Leonard Ellerbe too. Looks like he's realizing that now. You gotta move on. If you go back to TMT, it's gonna look like a sign of weakness. You know, it's time to get over this tweeting about Floyd, then deleting the tweet and using the gym and bringing out Leonard Ellerbe to be a spokesman and whatnot. Either you leave or you don't leave. And that's how Floyd's seeing it. Floyd isn't a little boy. He's a grown man. He wished Tank nothing but the best. Maybe Tank took that as, I can just go back to the gym and pick up where we left off, even though I'm not signed to TMT no more. It doesn't work like that. That's not amicable. Without looking at the dictionary definition, which I should, It's about a partnership dissolving and there's no animosity between you. Or if there was, it's been resolved as best as possible. You can tolerate each other, but a split is nevertheless necessary. As a boxing fan, nah, I didn't approve of the matchmaking for Tank Davis. But from a standpoint of good business, Floyd and Leonard Ellaby, Al Heyman, protected Tank and made him take subpar fights that even if they didn't do big pay-per-view numbers, they were on pay-per-view nonetheless. And Tank has made good money from not fighting the best fighters. But he doesn't have that no more. Doesn't have the gym. Doesn't have that support unit of Mayweather and Leonard Ellaby doing damage control when people question the opposition. Doesn't have that no more. And you see he ran back to Leonard Ellaby the other week on one of the Ryan Garcia pressers. He had Leonard up there talking. This boxing game ain't easy. Whether you're in the ring, promoting, management, training, none of it is easy. None of it. And a lot of fighters who remove themselves from situations, they find that out. They find that out. Grass ain't always greener. Tell Tank to relax, man. You don't need the Mayweather gym. You got the rehydration clause on Ryan. What more do you want? A sledgehammer? Get on with it.
Fraser, how soon would you like to get in with somebody like Wardley, or would they get in with somebody like you? How soon would you like that to happen?
Saturday night. I'm used to late replacements. Swap Dino with Wardley. Like that's not a problem for me. And this is no disrespect to him. I've got no problem with Fabio. He's got what I want eventually, you know, we'll get there, I think, in the next 2 or 3 fights.
Frazer Clarke, Fabio Wardley in his next 2 or 3 fights. So we're talking about tail end 2023, early 2024. I think that's a reasonable goal. Fabio has to get past Coffey on the undercard of AJ Franklin. That's the type of fight, if they can maintain their form throughout 2023, that's a good fight, man. Fabio versus Frazer Clarke. Earlier in the press conference, Frazer was very frustrated when he was reading online people saying that he's not in the same category as Fabio Wardley, who is now British champion. And he was very frustrated hearing that. He believes he's in that class, ready to mix it up at British domestic level. That would excite me. Matchroom versus Sky, that would excite me. A type of fight like that. But then again, Fabio might have moved on by then. He might have moved on from British title level. We have to consider that by 2024. Interesting though. Lots of domestic cards on this weekend. Lyndon Arthur is fighting for the IBO title against Suarez from Argentina. He's 18 wins, 17 inside the distance with 1 loss. He lost in a round about a fight ago. That's on Channel 5 Friday. Nathan Heaney, he's headlining on a Telford card. Queensbury, Frank Warren on Saturday. Heaney is a middleweight. And obviously Lawrence OKOLIE at the Manchester Arena versus David Light for the WBO title. So a lot happening on the domestic front. I may cover the Lyndon Arthur fight live on a hangout. I may do that. Saturday night, or should I say Sunday morning, if you're in this part of the world, you got Plant versus Benavidez. Let's get it.